Let me ask you something. Any lottery players here? Anybody ever played the lottery? It's okay. I'm not going to judge you for gambling. Just ask them simple. What would you do if you won all that money? Would that be something? You had all that money to spend, more money than you knew what to do with. None of us have that problem at this point, I'm sure. But wouldn't it be nice if you did? What if I told you we were going to set up an account for you? We're going to put $86,400 in there every day. Would that be enough money for you? Could you spend that? Could you spend it every day? Could you use all of it? What if I told you that the only stipulation was that you had to use it every day? That you had to spend it or give it away or do something with it. No matter what you did with it, it was up to you. You could give it to people, you could spend it, you could use it, however you chose. But at the end of the day, we're going to make that count zero. But good news is tomorrow we're going to give you another $86,000. That's a pretty good deal. Anybody want to sign up for that? Well, the good news is you already got that account. You already got that account, but it's not cash. It's time. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. And God gives you that every day. But you got to use them that day. You can't save them for tomorrow. Right? It's got to be used what? Today. Because it's only good for today. It's one day. You know, somebody said life is kind of like a coin. You can spend it however you want. But you only get to spend it one time. Right? We all got one life to live. Right now we're in the process of spending our time in the Lenten season, right? The 40 days of love is what I've called it. This year, the theme is that you'll show up every week and you're going to hear something different about love until Easter. Because I feel like God's love, and that's our way of drawing closer to God, preparing to be what God would have us to do. If we simply just did the things that were read in Luke 10:27, right? If we love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, all our strength, and we love our neighbor as ourselves, we would be pleasing to God. If we could just do those things. That's simple, isn't it? Or is it? You know, last week we talked about the 5 languages of love last week. There were what? Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch, right? We talked about those 5. And we've already spent a Sunday talking about words of affirmation, right? How we build each other up. Words of encouragement, write somebody a letter, give somebody some encouragement, speak kindness into someone's life and not harsh words, right? And today we're going to talk a little bit about quality of time. Now notice I didn't say time. I said quality of time. Because there's a difference, right? There's a difference in quality time and time. A lot of us spend time with other people, but we don't spend quality time with other people. In other words, we're present, but we're not present. Right? We're in the room, so we're physically there, but mentally, we're way off. We're thinking about a football game, or that rabbit I got to hunt, or what was the measurement of them cabinets, or thinking about work and the grocery list and who's going to go get that. We're thinking about all kinds of things, right? And we get to where we can just respond just like out of habit. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And we get to where we just throw things out, even in church, be like, amen. What do you say? It felt like it was a good part for it, right? But we get to where we can just kind of jump through the hoops and we can just respond without even thinking. There's a story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt got tired of people just going through the motions. He felt like people like at receptions would just go through the motions. They were just so happy to be meeting the president. You know, they weren't listening to anything he said. So he decided what he was going to do was he was going to change it up a little bit. So that night at the reception, and people were coming through, he told each and every person, he'd lean forward and smile, and he'd shake their hand and say, I killed my grandmother this morning. And they'd be like, that is lovely. Keep up the good work, Mr. President. You know, they all did that except for one foreign diplomat. And he came through and he said, I killed my grandmother. He said, I'm sure she deserved it. You know, how many of us are like that, those people in that reception lines? We're just going through the motions, right? We're present, but we're not present. We hang out with our kids, but are we present with our kids? You know? We hang out with our spouse, but are we truly present with our spouse? Are we hearing what they have to say? Are we aware of what's going on around us? Or are we just going through the motions of the, yeah, yeah, sure, okay, yes, I agree. You better be careful what you agree to. Because if you're not really listening, you can agree to all kinds of stuff you weren't really prepared to do. But that comes from being present. That comes from being present. So often today, I go out and I like to people watch. It's just, you know, I'll sit in a mall or I'll sit in a restaurant and I'll watch all those people around me. And you know, you think TV's entertaining, you ought to watch people. Just try it sometime. Just go to a restaurant, go sit somewhere and watch people. They're entertaining. They're just really, the things they do are kind of funny. But this week we had just come back from a doctor's appointment and we went to have lunch at a pizza place, and I got up and I got some pizza and I was sitting down and I noticed this 2-year-old. And there was in the corner, it's like a half vending machine. I'm not even sure what kind of machine it was, but it was kind of built like, you remember the old pinball machines, you know, the table with the back to it. It was kind of built like that, but it was small. It was maybe this long. But there was a 2-year-old who was dangling from it. He had crawled up onto the board, and his feet were about, I don't know, the high off the ground, and he was looking, and his 4-year-old, looked like about a 4-year-old brother, was trying to climb on it too, and I was kind of watching them as I turned the corner and went to my seat, and there was the dad. He was in his phone. He was present, but he wasn't present. Till I sat down, and about 2 minutes later I heard, "Get down off that." You know, that's how long it had taken him to notice what his children were doing. Now, I'm not saying his children were doing anything mischievous or anything bad. What I'm saying is, he wasn't aware of what his children were doing. He was there with them. He was present, but he wasn't present. Right? How many of us do that? How many of us take you know, the easy way out? You know, children start to act up, and we say, "Yeah, here's a video. Have a phone. You know, entertain yourself with that video." That's the easy way. That's the thing we do. You know, but what happened if we were actually present with our children? What happened if we actually talked to them, if we played a game with them, if we engaged them? As opposed to letting a smartphone raise our children. You know, I think the smartphone is the worst invention ever. I think it's made us dumber. I really do. We have to depend on that for everything. Now, I mean, besides Pam's phone number, if I lost my smartphone, I couldn't call nobody. I know Pam's number, and I know my daughter's number. One of my daughter's number. I don't know both of their numbers. I know one. That's bad. And I'm ashamed to say that, but it's true. And I know the number I grew up with at home. Those are the numbers I know. Because my mom's numbers never changed for a gazillion years. So, but beyond that, I couldn't call anybody. But it used to be, I knew everybody's number. If I wanted to call somebody, I'd say, "Oh yeah, their number's it's this, or it's this." But I've come to rely on that smartphone for everything, right? And if we go out to restaurants, and if you look around, what do you see? People on their smartphones, right? They're Googling it. You know, there was a question about who owned Hobby Lobby earlier. Billy got it on his smartphone. He looked it up. You know, in some ways it's good. It can get us information quickly, but in some ways, think of the distraction it has become in our life. If you go to a restaurant and you look, there's no conversation anymore. People are just, we're texting, or we're surfing the internet now, because we can do that, or we're on Facebook. Look where I'm at. You know, you know, and we're neglecting the people that we're with. We're neglecting the people that we're sitting with because we're on our smart. I can tell you, I've been guilty of that. And I try to be more mindful of it now and try to set my phone face down if I'm there. And I'll check the time every once in a while, but to be more engaged in conversation, to be more engaged in the person I'm there with. And let me tell you, when you're dealing with somebody whose love language is time, we're talking quality time. When you are in your phone and you're sitting there at dinner, or you're in the TV while you're sitting there eating dinner, or you're spending time in the living room, or you're in your crossword puzzle, or you're in your Sudoku, or whatever it is, or you're playing solitaire, or whatever, reading a book, whatever it is you're doing, when you're sitting there doing that, they're talking to you, and you're like, yes, Whatever it is you're doing, you know what you're telling them? You're telling them they're less than. You're less important to me than this book. You're less important to me than what's going on my phone, or what's on the internet, or what's on TV. You're less than. It's not that you're not important, but you're less important than all these other things. All these other things that I'm willing to give my attention to are more important than you are. Because we make the things that are important to us what? A priority. That's right. So if that person's a priority to you, then you should give them your attention. You should be present when you're present, right? When they're speaking something to you, when they're telling you something, when they're wanting to come to you and talk to you about something that's bothering them, you need to put down your book, cut off the TV, put down your phone, and listen to what they have to say. You need to give them the gift of time. Your time. And I know it's valuable, and they know it's valuable. That's why when you give it to them, it's so special. Isn't it? And it's different. You can say, well, I care about that person. They know. They know I care about them. But if you're speaking, if that's their love language and that's what you're speaking to them, you're not telling them that. You're not telling them that by making your phone more important, making the internet more important, making a book more important, or solitaire, or whatever it is you do that distracts you from them. There's something to being present when you're present, isn't there? You know, my grandchildren or my children can tell me, oh, I love you, Dad, love you, Papa. But it doesn't replace them running up to hug me when I see them, to show with me that I'm important, to being present when I'm present, to want to spend time with me when I'm there with them. It doesn't replace that, does it? And it doesn't replace it with you. And for those who that's their love language, it's even more important that you're present when you're present. And that's why it's important you know what your love language is, and what your spouse's love language is, and what your children's love language is, because that way, the love that you have for them in your heart, you're going to be able to express it to them in a language that they what? Understand. In a language that they can receive it, right? Everybody got a test, right? Did everybody get a test? A love language test? You don't have to take it now. I don't want you to take it now. As a matter of fact, that'd be distracting if you were taking it now. But if everybody got one, I just want to make sure you got one. And if you need more, you can get more. I'll be glad to give it to you. But take the test this week. Have your spouse take the test. Have your children take the test. Find out what's important to them. How are you going to relate to them? How are you going to spend time with them? How can you say, I love you in a language that they what? Understand. Because that's our goal, right? We're not just saying it to be saying it. We want them to know. I want my children to know I love them. I want my grandchildren to know I love them. I want each of you to know I love you. You know, it's important to me that you know that. But I have to speak it in a language that you understand. Just saying the words doesn't really mean a lot. Anybody can say the words, right? Except for the Fonz. So he struggled with that. But beyond that, that's before most people's time. But in reality, it's important. And, you know, in Jesus, we talked about this last week. Jesus displayed all the love languages, didn't he? in the form of agape. But he always had time for people. You know, Jesus was a very charismatic character. He drew people to him. People came to hear what he had to say. They wanted to be close to him. You know, we never read the Bible where Jesus said, you know, I'm really too busy. I'm too busy to heal you. I'm too busy to feed you. Your needs aren't important to me. I understand you've been blind all your life, and I ain't got time for that. I gotta go preach. You never see, I didn't read that in the Bible. If it's in your Bible, would you please bring it to me and show it to me? Because maybe I have the wrong version of the Bible. I don't know. But Jesus always made time for people, didn't he? He always made time for people. Why? Because God's love. And that's one of the love languages. Even when the children came to him, what did he say? The disciples said, no, he's busy. Don't bother the master. Don't bother him. He said, no, let the little children what? Come here. Yeah. I want to spend some time with you. And he welcomed them. And if we're Christians, that's what we're supposed to what? We're supposed to be doing. Because God's love. And if we're going to be Christians, then we need to be loved too. No matter what language that comes in. And I think God definitely speaks quality time, don't you? Which brings me kind of to an important question for you. How's your quality time with God? Not your time with God. How's your quality time with God? You see, because all those things I just talked about, it's important that we do with people. It's equally as important that we do them with God. That we not just spend time with God. You see, you can just show up to church every Sunday and say, I spent time with God. I went to church. I sat in the pew. I looked good. People saw me there. They're going to account for me. You know, but did you spend quality time here? Did you come seeking to be in his presence? Did you come seeking to hear a word from him? Or did you just come? There's a difference. It's the same thing as being in the room with somebody and acknowledging that they're in the room. It's different. You know, I feel God here. I anticipate God being here. When I don't come here because I don't think God's going to be here, right? I don't pray thinking that God doesn't hear me. You know, what was it just a couple weeks ago, the talk show personality, whatever her name is, on The View said, you know, Mike Pence is mentally ill because he hears from God. He said he hears from God. Y'all heard that? You heard about that? But anyway, you know, my answer to that is, if that's mental illness, hearing from God, then you go and count me as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm crazy as a doorknob. I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm nuts. Because, I mean, I hear from God. God directs my life. I don't go to prayer expecting silence. I go expecting an answer to a prayer. If I go seeking direction, I want God to direct me. I don't go to worship air. I can come here to worship God, to be in God's presence. I think crazy is showing up and not expecting God to be here. I think crazy is praying and not expecting to hear a word back from God. That's crazy. So if crazy is hearing from God, then you can count me as cuckoo. Just straight up, give me a jacket. I live on Crazy Street. But I'm proud to live on Crazy Street. I'm not ashamed of it. Because if that's crazy, I think we all should live on Crazy Street. But I got the house in the cul-de-sac. But all joking aside, we need to come to our prayer time expecting God to be there. And if God's there, if you come expecting God to be there, don't you think you should give him your full attention? How many of you start off a prayer with, Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, you're so wonderful, and I thank you. The next thing you know, you're making a grocery list in your mind. Your mind starts wandering off, right? You're like, I need eggs. God, I really appreciate you. Garbage bags. You know, we're not giving, I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. We're not giving God His due. We're not giving God quality time. We're giving God time. But we're acting like God's not really there. Because if God was really there, and God is there, but with God really being there, don't you think you would act a little different if you felt like God was there? We need to give God our full attention. Not our smartphone attention, not our grocery list attention, not our checking my eyelids for pinholes attention, our full attention. When we come to worship, we should expect God to be here because He is. When we pray, we should expect to hear from God. Maybe if you're not hearing from God, it's because you walked away from the conversation too soon. Maybe you didn't wait for an answer. You just presented God with a wish list and walked away. Conversation, I always say it's a conversation. Conversation is a two-way street, right? Preaching, that's one way, right? I come and I can preach to you. But a conversation is when we talk, right? I come to prayer thinking it's a conversation, expecting God to be there, expecting to hear an answer. You know, when you go into the Scriptures, how do you read your Scriptures? How do you read your Old Testament? Right? Sometimes it gets long, and it gets all the begattens and the begottens and the who's and the how's, and it's hard to stay awake sometimes. But how do you come to your Scriptures? Do you come expecting God to speak to you through them? Do you come saying, God's got something for me here in the Scriptures, and I'm going to read them maybe 2-3 times. I'm going to see how they apply to my life. Do you pray before you get into them? God, show me today what you have in these Scriptures for me. How it affects my life. Maybe it's going to point out something that I'm doing wrong, or something I'm falling short on. I didn't even know I was falling short on it. But it speaks to me. Spend some time in meditation. That's not just something monks do. That just means to sit there and dwell on what you just read. I mean, you ain't got to go, you don't got to do all that. But you can sit there and you can dwell on what you read. Pray about it. Spend some quiet time. But to do that, you're going to need to set aside some deliberately set aside some time for God. Right? I'm not going to tell you to do it in the morning first thing, or at night before you go to bed, or after lunch before the nap. I'm not going to tell you any of that. You do it when you're ready to do it. Because that's everybody's individual. But you set aside your time for God. Jesus did. Jesus prayed all times of the day. He didn't just say, I'm going to pray in the morning and I'm done. Did he? And we find Jesus praying at night. We find him praying in the middle of the day. There is no set time. God's always there. He doesn't have office hours. It's not 9 to 5 or it's after 5. Sorry, you have to catch me tomorrow during 9 to 5 hours. God's there all the time, 24/7. He wants to hear from you. But you're going to have to set aside time for that, right? You're going to have to make God a what? Priority. There it is. Because we make what's important to us a priority. And if God's a priority, then spending time with Him should be just that. Not just on Sundays. Every day. Daily. And if we don't make it a priority, see what happens is you go home and you say, yeah, I got all pumped up. I'm going to do that. And you're going to do that Monday and Tuesday. And by Wednesday, it's going to start to fade. And by Thursday, it's gone. And by Friday, you can't even remember what the preacher talked about on Sunday. Right? A lot of people, that's like Sunday afternoon. But some people, it actually the last couple of days. But if we make it a priority, if it speaks to you, and you make it a priority, and you set aside that time for you and God, I guarantee you'll have a closer walk. I guarantee you'll have a better relationship with God. Because any person you spend time with or in conversation with, you're going to have a better relationship with them, right? All right? You know? If We want a better relationship. You want to know, if I want to know more about Pam, I want to spend some time with her. I want to talk to her. I want to listen to how her day was. What's going on? What are her concerns? You know, God wants those same things. If you're hurting, He wants to hear you're hurting. If you're joyful, He wants to hear that too. If you're happy, if you're praising Him, if you're sorrowful, whatever it is you have for that day, bring it to Him. Spend some time with Him. Quality time with Him. It'll make your relationship with Him better. Today's scripture said to love the Lord your God with what? All your heart, mind, soul, strength, everything you got. That's it. Everything you got. If you're thinking, well, I need to love Him with this pinky. Yep. Bring your pinky too. Whatever it is you got, you bring. Love Him with everything. And to love your neighbor as yourself. 2 simple commands. But it's a choice, isn't it? It's a choice. God gave us free will. We don't gotta love Him. Not a good choice. We don't have to love our neighbor. Not a good choice. But it's a choice nonetheless. You got 86,400 seconds. Minus however many I've sucked out of your day today. I'm giving you this sermon. But you got the rest of this day and you got tomorrow. Well, maybe tomorrow. None of us is promised tomorrow. But if this is your last day to spend those seconds, don't you want to spend them as quality time and not just passing time? It's up to you. You got to make that investment. You got to make that a choice to invest in others and invest in God. Time's ticking. Can you hear it? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Make the choice. Choose love. And all God's people said, Amen. Amen.